In almost every sense of the word, it's a typical farm in the Australian bush. What, of course, sets it apart are the people. You come here and you find that they're living in a culture that's almost 5,000 years old. A farm in the Australian bush where the sights and sounds can be anything but Australian. This is New Govardhan, northern New South Wales and Queensland headquarters for the Hare-Krishnas, followers of an ancient Indian religion and culture. A farm they plan to turn into a self-contained, self-sufficient community of 200. Their showcase for a lifestyle and philosophy brought to Australia little more than a decade ago.
In the beginning, people were a little bit wary, a little bit suspicious. Anything new, I suppose, anyone would be a little suspicious.
The Hare-Krishnas plan to spend $5.5 million to develop their Murwillumbah farm, with a temple, museum, restaurant, single and married quarters, a primary and secondary school. A village which, while it is self-contained, is open to the outside world.
I think generally now there's a great acceptance of the Hare Krishna movement. We get thousands and thousands of visitors coming through here.
You have in fact become a tourist attraction, haven't you?
We have, yeah.
The Hare-Krishnas appear well aware of the curiosity and outright suspicion of outsiders. One reason why tomorrow they'll spend an estimated $500,000 to insert a lavishly illustrated 16-page colour brochure in every major Australian newspaper. A brochure which heavily promotes life down on the farm. How did you go about choosing the artwork for it? You've got pictures of kids, which are always appealing. Pictures of life on the farm, that's appealing too. Is that the attention grabber?
Well, it's a very dynamic part of our activities, and we always find that people are impressed with the purity of our kids, and there's a sort of wholesome freshness that they have, and that really comes out in the atmosphere of the farm.
When the Hare-Krishnas first moved here 5.5 years ago, there were only 6 of them on the farm. Now there's a population of around 80 adults here and as many children. Plus that, there are other families that are living in the district because there just simply isn't enough accommodation yet on the farm to contain all of the Hare-Krishna community. Life as a Hare-Krishna is strictly disciplined for both adults and children. They're out of bed at 3:30 in the morning, at prayer by 4:30. The school operates 6 days a week.
I work at the cow shed. Like at normal schools, you work till 3 o'clock, and you get off and you run home and you watch TV. All afternoon you watch TV.
You used to do that, did you?
Yeah. Now all you do, you go to school, go down, you have lunch, then I go working off at the cow shed.
Bala, what does bala mean? Strength, strong. Yes.
Like any other private school, this one receives a government grant and must teach the basic state curriculum. But lessons include a foreign language and alphabet, Sanskrit, the ancient Indian language of the Vedic scriptures on which the Hare-Krishna life is based. You do have the basic curriculum of any other school in New South Wales, but what do you add on top of that?
Well, like I said, we teach all the standard disciplines, but over and above that, we teach the children to be clean, compassionate, truthful, merciful, unalloyed in their love for God. We teach them all these sorts of things, which we feel are lacking, sadly, in most other conventional educational institutions.
Now, what sort of student will you turn out at the end of that? Would that be somebody, if he didn't want to stay, or he or she didn't want to stay in the community, could go outside and do a normal job? They would know enough to be able to survive in the outside world?
Most definitely. This is a common question, how your kids cope as a result of all this kind of conditioning. But our children will be academically achieved, they'll be decorated with all good qualities, and over above that they'll be firmly fixed in a blissful spiritual consciousness which will enable them to handle any situation.
Only time will tell how well the Krishna kids can survive in the outside world should they choose to venture away from this piece of ancient Indian culture transplanted in the land down under. They're brought up in a community which shuns what to us are everyday things such as radio, TV and newspapers. But a community skilled in the ways of Western capitalism, with financial backing to confidently plan a multi-million-dollar project such as this.
We do have lots and lots of different businesses, like a handicraft business and a perfume business and clothes business. We import things from overseas and wholesale them here in Australia, and also retail. And we have...
It is in fact a very successful business corporation, isn't it? A multi-million-dollar organisation.
Well, you know, we are a large organisation now. It's a fact. We have lots and lots of centres all over Australia. So all the profits that come from those businesses comes to the temples for its different propaganda work.
The business talent behind the scenes is a largely unknown side of the Hare Krishna movement. The colour brochure to be inserted in tomorrow's newspapers is the result of months of planning by sect members, who include the creative director of one of Australia's largest advertising agencies. They have their own building designers, even a public relations man to handle media contacts. Despite that, they remain somewhat of a mystery, following a culture alien to the average Australian, a discipline which has produced what must be amongst the most conservative lifestyles in the world.
We're vegetarians, there's no meat, nor there's any intoxication. We don't take any drugs of any type, or we don't even have coffee or tea. And we don't gamble, and we... What's the other one?
There's no illicit sex on
That's right, yeah, that's the first thing you mentioned. There's no illicit sex at all. We only have sex for procreation of children.
A decade ago, there were only a few of them chanting on the streets. Today, they number their followers in the thousands and claim to be the fastest growing religious sect in Australia. We're told that we're becoming a multicultural society. So maybe it's not all that unusual that there are those amongst us who, like the Hare Krishnas, choose to march to the beat of a different drum.